going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and this is going to be a spoiler review for Pet Semetary. 2019, the remake. I was really happy with this movie. I was a big fan of the first one that came out in '89. I said in a non-spoiler review that my biggest concern was Judd Crandall. It was a character played by Fred Gwynne in the first movie, and he did an amazing job bringing a lot of heart to it. And John Lithgow, I thought was a very interesting choice, but he did very good in this. I think he brought, kind of that old country vibe to the role. The neighborly, kind-hearted guy that you would expect. But in this case, of course, holding some secrets, and that's where things get interesting. So Lewis Creed, Rachel Creed, Ellie Creed, Gage Creed. This is the family that just moves to this very rural house. A lot of woods. And they instantly find out that there's a pet cemetery on their property, way in the back. And so they have a cat with them. And of course, Ellie Creed, the daughter of the family, is very close to this cat. And when it gets hit by a truck, well, they try to spare her and they tell her that the cat ran away, and then Judd Crandall understands that there's this pet cemetery that has the powers to reanimate the dead. And so they take Church to this pet cemetery, they bury it, and he's already back the very same night. And so Jason Clarke, the father, is trying to wrap his head around it because he's very analytical. He's a doctor. He doesn't believe in heaven or hell. But he's kind of enraptured by this power. It's like, we just brought a cat back from the dead. How the hell did that happen? Unfortunately, it always comes with a price, especially in Stephen King novels. And the cat comes back and it's very creepy now. It's completely psychotic. There was this one scene where Jason Clarke's character and Amy Simons' character, Rachel Creed, the father and mother, they're, kissing and making out on the bed, and then all of a sudden there's the cat eating a dead bird. Well, actually, still alive bird. And it was just a really creepy moment, and then, like, literally a scene or two later, the cat is sitting on top of their baby, hissing. It really did make it a little unsettling. So I really love that they made Church more of a character in this movie than the first movie. They made him a lot creepier. Honestly, they made him a lot creepier in this movie. I loved what they did with Church. I also love the fact that Church was instrumental in, if you've seen the movie or if you've read the book, you know that one of the Creed's kids is going to die. And in the original movie and the book, it was Gage, the younger son. In this movie, they changed it up a little bit. They decided to kill Ellie instead. Originally, Ellie had a lot of questions about death, and they're trying to explain, and how do you explain to a kid about death? And so they save the cat, and then the cat is very instrumental in Ellie dying because they're having a little party at their house. They invite some family over, and Gage is running out to the road, and there's a lot of semis that traffic this road. And so Lewis goes and grabs his son, saves his son, but at the same time, Church is walking in the middle of the street and pulls, draws Ellie to the cat right in the middle of the road. She gets hit by a semi. So naturally, Lewis decides, well, if I can bring the cat back, I can bring my daughter back. So she comes back, but she comes back not the same, a little twisted. She's still got the weird facial deconstruction from getting hit by a semi. So that was pretty interesting by itself. And Jate Lawrence, man, her role when this happens is very good. She has to sell being super creepy at points, being just absolutely vicious at points. And I've said, as child actors go, actresses, it can be very hit and miss. And she really nailed this. Like, there were some scenes where it's genuinely creepy as shit. There's a famous scene from the first one where, Gage kills Judd Crandall. Well, obviously it's her this time. And You know, you really see the viciousness in this character after she's been brought back from the dead. Um, there's another scene where she's attacking her mother, and she gets super creepy there too. Um, and I really like the fact that they changed it up to Jete Lawrence's character being the one that gets killed instead of Gage. I think it sells better. I think it's a little bit more reasonable. Um, you know, because Gage is like 2 or 3, and how much can he really do? You know what I mean? So I thought that was a very good choice. She winds up killing her mother, that takes her to the pet cemetery, and now she is going to be reanimated as well. So Lewis is running into the woods trying to catch Ellie before she takes her mom to the pet cemetery. Of course, that's already happened. So there's this big scuffle um, where Ellie Creed, the daughter, starts attacking Lewis, the father, and Lewis gets the upper hand, of course. He's a full-grown man. She's a little girl. Starts choking her out, and then he grabs a shovel and he's about to impale her, and then from out of nowhere, he gets rebar through the chest. And that was Rachel Creed, the mother, who has been reanimated. And so, you know, they're like, now we can be a family. So it's literally this family of reanimated people now. I really liked the way they did that. I'm really into movies that don't leave too much for hope. Take The Mist, for example, where he shoots everybody in the car, and then, you know, he's run out of bullets, and then last second the army comes in, and it's like this like super fucked up ending. This is kind of the same way. Another thing that I loved was Amy Seimetz, the lady who plays Rachel Creed, does a very, very good job in her role. And I said in the non-spoiler that it's probably the most fleshed out character in the story, because she has to deal with the fact that she had this sister that was all contorted. Her spine was misshapen. She was bedridden, and she was kind of scared to deal with her. And her parents left her alone with her sister, and she had to feed her and things. And she was always supposed to go take the food up to her and feed her. Instead, there was this little elevator chute that like sent the food up, so she would do that. And her sister tried to get the food, wound up falling down the shaft and dying. And so she felt very responsible for her death. And so throughout the movie, anytime death was brought up, especially when it came to Ellie, the little girl, she really wanted to avoid that subject. And so it made this little conflict between the mother and father in this, because the father, you know, not really believing in anything and believing that people should be able to face the reality of life. And so I really did like how they fleshed that out. Judd Crandall was a lot of exposition, a lot of explaining, but John Lithgow did do a very good job with this, and I really liked the fact that they did go into his backstory with his dog and things like that. One thing I wish they would have done a little bit more was in the first movie, Lewis Creed asked Judd Crandall if anybody had ever buried anybody up there, and Fred Gwynn's character, Judd, deflected and was like, you know, no, whoever would. And you find out that he knew the truth about this thing the whole time. And that after he brought back Church and the baby died in the first movie, he felt incredibly responsible. You kind of get the responsibility aspect in a conversation that Judd and Lewis have, but it's not nearly as in-depth as the first movie. So that's probably the one thing I wish I could have seen a little bit more of. Other than that, though, it was a very good movie. It was very creepy. I think they did a much better job with Church. I like the way they explained things in this movie a little bit more. And I do like the twists in this. Like the fact that they killed Ellie instead of Gage really worked. And the fact that, you know, at the end of the movie, there's just no hope. At the end of the movie, you have Lewis Creed, Rachel Creed, Ellie Creed. They're all reanimated now, and they walk up to Gage, who's like this 2-3-year-old kid in the car, and you know, you see the father put his hands on the cars, and that's where they cut the credits. So I like the way they did that. You know, it's just one of those things where it truly creepy. You know, it's typical Stephen King. It's exactly what you would expect. So at the end of the day, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I was thoroughly enjoyed with it. I thought it was great. I really did. I think they did a good job with this. So that's where I'm at. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz, Kaged Nation, out.